Hey everybody, welcome to episode 106 of the Askdap show, where I answer your Volkswagen and Audi questions. On this episode, we talk about, do spark plug brands really matter? And will the dealer know when it's time for your differential service?
I am Blues and Blues am I via YouTube says, will the dealers have the PP Diff service on their Mark 7 maintenance schedule? The one in VW Vortex doesn't show this, so wondering if dealer techs have one that includes it and if they would know about it if I pointed it out to them before the service.
Okay, so this question is about Mark 7 Performance Pack Diffs. We've talked a lot recently about Performance Pack Diffs. We shot a video, or I talked about explaining how those Performance Pack Diffs work. If you haven't seen it, I'll make sure I link to it here where you can check that out. But it explains the basic understanding of how that diff actually operates. It does require servicing. It has a service interval of every 30,000 miles. So this question is around that. And I think my answer is probably gonna upset a bunch of people, but let me just explain the general rule about why this happens. I would expect that almost no dealers are going to know the service interval. As a general rule, they're probably going to almost certainly overlook it. Mostly because this is kind of a new car and that service is something that's new to these cars. And while you would think that, okay, you're the dealer, you should know all that stuff, until they've seen the pattern of this stuff, they're not going to be doing that, and especially because the people who most people are going to interact with the most are going to be service advisors. As a general rule in the service and parts arena, they probably know the least out of everybody in those departments on average. Of course, there are going to be plenty of exceptions. I've known plenty of exceptions that myself personally that I've worked with. But a lot of times they won't be super knowledgeable about cars. So for that reason, there's a good chance it gets overlooked. So you definitely, if you have a performance pack car, should make sure you're mentioning that and requesting that service to be done. I don't know personally if that's going to be something that's covered under warranty. I know there's some stuff about warranty services and people who buying service contracts from VW. We've answered questions about that in the past. I don't know answers to that. I would suggest reach out to either, if you have a service contract, reach out to the people that the service contract is through, or if you want to have that service done, make sure you reach out to the dealers. Also, something that you want to make sure of, a lot of dealers probably do not stock Haldex oil. We probably sell more Haldex oil than any dealer in the country because a lot of people who have Haldex stuff do their own work or may not get service at the dealer. So because of that, if you are trying to get that service done at a dealership, first, you should buy from us. Second, if you're not going to do that, then I would suggest you make sure you call ahead, because you want to make sure they have that Haldex fluid in stock at the time when you're going to get your service done.
Ryan via Facebook says, with my oil pan on the way, watching your install video, there is no mention of RTV set time. Some say hours, others a day, some say 15 minutes. In the past, I've used RTV in a lot of applications. We waited a little while and kept going. Should I wait any more than 20 minutes to add oil? Thinking about this, I can't imagine a dealership waiting 24 hours to add oil.
Okay, so this question was asked in a Facebook group. They tagged me in it because we have a DIY showing you how to install a Mark 7 steel pan on a car. If you're not familiar with that, I'll make sure I link to the steel pan in the description, and you can check out the steel pan as well as the install video and all that stuff. So here's the deal with that stuff. The official time frame I believe Permatex uses is, I think, 24 hours for a set time of their RTV. As a general rule, yes, I completely agree with you. There's no way any dealership is going to wait 24 hours for a set time on it. It means you'd have to leave your car with them for probably 2 days to do an oil pan on your car. 9 times out of 10, whenever you're replacing an oil pan, it's because somebody's driving down the road, they bust it. Who knows? They may be out of town and they have to get on the road. So Charles, the Hum mechanic, actually jumped in on this because he saw this thread. And he also said, his belief is that he would do it. Basically, the amount of time it would take for him to finish the job and put oil in the car is how long he would wait. I completely agree with that sentiment. That's what I would generally do. I would say an hour is probably a reasonable amount of time to wait. Again, if you want to make sure you feel comfortable with it, then go with the time set in place by the manufacturer of the product. Anytime you're going to have a leak that's going to come from that came from not waiting, as a general rule, in my opinion, They probably just didn't put enough RTV and have good coverage to begin with. So that's my personal thoughts on that, and I definitely think that making sure that you wait long, I wouldn't probably dump it in immediately. Give it a little bit of time. I think an hour is a safe amount of time, and most shops you're going to go to are not going to have a 24-hour wait period between installing an oil pan and when they even put oil back into the oil pan, which means, again, a 2-day lead time just from a flat base from time drop off to time to pick up is almost going to be probably a 3 days. You know, let's leave it on a Monday. They do it they finish it on late Monday. Maybe you can't pick up and they're closed by a 24-hour period, and so you have to pick it up Wednesday. So that's my opinion, and hopefully that helps.
Jason via YouTube says, can I swap the front caliper from the base to the Performance Pack calipers? If so, what do I need besides calipers, pads, and rotors?
Okay, so this comment was left on a video, a DIY video about brakes on a Mark 7. If you're not familiar, we have a front and rear DIY. I'll make sure I link to both of those in the description where you can check them out. We did upgraded pads and rotors and that stuff. So his question is about upgrading to Performance Pack stuff. Yes, we actually put together a kit to give you the ability to turnkey offer a front Performance Pack brake setup, and we also have a rear one. I'll link to both of those in the description as well. But basically, if you take a look at this picture, you can see that the Performance Pack brakes are essentially calipers, carriers, pads, rotors, brake lines, and the backing plates. That's pretty much all you're going to need to do that. Again, you would probably want a brake bleeder tool like the DIY we showed on the brake flush. You would want that bleeder tool as well, because once you break those lines loose, you're going to have air in the system. You got to make sure you bleed it all out of there to get all the air out of the brake system. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. If you know how to do any type of brake install and bleed a system, it's going to be pretty similar to that setup. And yeah, again, I'll have links to that in the description. And you know, the one thing I want to mention, upgrading brakes is great, and definitely bigger brakes are definitely going to stop better. In my opinion, a lot of people would be best served by just pads and rotors, by upgrading pads and rotors. I think that's actually, most people would be happy with that result. Although upgrading brakes and pads and rotors, which we have a kit for that as well, could give you even better braking. So you know, that may be the best choice for you, and that's why we kind of offer a bunch of variety in that realm.
Jeff via YouTube says, thanks fellas, really straightforward and nice video. I'm changing the spark plugs in my 2013 Passat. Any recommendations on what brand of spark plugs, or are they all pretty much the same?
Okay, Jeff has a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder on a Passat. We have a DIY video showing how to do spark plugs. I think I shot that on a Mark 5 Jetta, but all 2.5s are essentially the same with some very, very minor variations. So do spark plugs matter? Yes, absolutely, spark plugs matter. Every Volkswagen and Audi spark plugs matter tremendously. I think there's some people who might be a little bit cynical and think that I'm trying to oversell and overstep to try to build value and kind of buying stuff from us. That is not the case. Spark plugs are really important for VW and Audi. There are a lot of brands that if you go to an auto parts store, just a regular one around the corner from you, and you get, you know, like, I'm trying to think of Autolite is one brand, the first brand that comes to mind. There is a very likely scenario that you're going to end up with misfires. And so what ends up happening with people like this is, you know, someone will go to an auto parts store, they'll buy plugs, they don't want to buy expensive plugs because they want to save money, of course. Who wouldn't want to save money? And they did it to fix a misfire problem, and then they install new plugs and still have misfires, and then they end up chasing their tail thinking that something else is wrong, but they just had spark plugs that were bad in the first place, and then they replace them with lower quality ones which don't meet the requirements, and so you end up chasing your tail trying to diagnose a problem that could have been solved by just putting in quality plugs to begin with. So the brands I always recommend is either NGK or Bosch. Genuine also as well fits along with that, but generally most VW and Audi genuine plugs are Bosch or NGK. So we offer a variety of different plugs for every single car. The 2.5 is no exception. Pretty much that one we offer two ones, the genuine ones and the Bosch ones. Both of them are going to be a quality choice. We offer them both because people have preferences, and same thing goes with things like oil. We only offer the quality ones that aren't going to give you a headache. but we do offer a variety to give people preference because they like NGK as a general rule, or they like Bosch, or some people only want to stick with genuine even though the genuine one might be an NGK or a Bosch one to begin with. They have to have that logo on there. So for that reason, we offer all three of them, but all of them would be a great choice. I like Bosch as a personal preference on that particular one, but you know, again, I think any of them are going to be a solid choice. Thank you so much for watching episode 106 of the Askdap Show, where I answer your Volkswagen and Audi questions. If you have any questions or comments about the questions answered in this show, be sure to leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more like it.